Welcome to EIPIP Meeting 62. I have shared agenda in chat. The first item, I have added it from the issue that was submitted yesterday, which is make EIP authorship depends on ENS. I find it very interesting, not that it is very important. That's why it's in #1 position, but kind of interesting. Would be curious to hear thoughts from people. Just a second, Greg, I think I'm hearing echo from your end. If you can maybe mute. And yeah, if people have any thought, comments.
I mean, personally, if it can be done, I would prefer that. But it's all about whether or not it can be done, obviously.
How do you prove ownership of the ENS name whenever you're creating an EIP? Because I could just say, oh, LikeClient.eth wrote this EIP, just so I don't have to register one.
Well, you could do the same thing with emails right now.
Yeah, but you have to have a GitHub account right now, and we don't have any require, because basically the ENS is going to be used as some sort of civil resistance mechanism. And so if there's no mechanism to enforce that that person has ownership of it, then it's not really doing its job. And so it's just adding an additional step.
I wouldn't say that ENS should necessarily be required, but perhaps recommended if you have one. For example, notably, I don't have an ENS name.
Yeah, if it's not required, I don't know if there is a big reason to do it.
I think this is more about decentralizing the actual repository location itself in case GitHub decides to have the EIP's repository go the way of Tornado.
I see.
I'm much more worried about a nuclear explosion in Ukraine or a major thermonuclear conflict or other things that are far more important than the EIP repository. There's clones of it all over the place. It can be reconstructed.
Yeah, I think it will add a lot more work to the process tooling. We can write as much tooling as we want to make this work and to be less reliant on GitHub, but I don't think that the benefit outweighs the required work.
Perhaps we could have like a mirror on GitLab just in case.
So I mean, everybody's local clone is already a mirror technically, so I don't think we really need, like, any of us can put it back up anywhere whenever we want. So like, it's not like we need the mirror now. We can put it up after something goes wrong with GitHub.
I think the hardest thing to back up, and I'm not sure what tools we have, but keeping track of all of the issues and the comments on the PRs is difficult. And that's not something in your local Git repo normally.
True, but it's also less important.
I don't know. I mean, maybe for the EIPIP repository,
and the GitHub usernames too.
Yeah,
the GitHub usernames too are kind of essential. Not sure what would happen if like the majority of the EIP editors perhaps got banned. Like if there's no one to review, for example, core EIPs, then that would probably be a problem.
I think we can move on now.
Yes, of course. I mean, like, yeah, we can probably continue collecting thoughts on the issue. The issue is added on the EIPIP GitHub repository. Moving on, We have collected some issues and pull requests from the GitHub issue of EIP and bot, I guess also. Okay, bot is at number 3. In the last meeting, we were discussing about EIPs and ERCs, like how do we write it, how do we read it? And there was one important discussion that was how we should pick EIP numbers. I'm not sure if there was any final decision on the way we should use EIP number or ERC number. So yeah, people can share thought on that, and then we can probably pick up how we should pick up EIP number. I guess this was suggested by Sam.
I think the discussion was basically like, since we had difficulties about EIP numbers, we should make a bot to do it, and I'm totally for doing that if you guys want.
Well, it kind of depends on whether or not we want to do the EIP number NFTs or not. They're kind of competing proposals.
I think the NFTs were historical, right? So we'd set the EIP bot to start at like whatever the current EIP number, and then we'd auction off the holes. I think that was Micah's proposal.
My proposal was actually that we assign the EIP bot itself some of the NFTs, and then the bot can use the NFTs.
So I think I'm in this case I'm for the simplest solution, which is just have a counter and assign based on a counter. But you know, if we want to go the NFT route, I guess I'm not super opposed to it.
When I talked about the NFT route with like some of the client devs, and there was definitely some amount of pushback. And I guess the like highest level one is people feel like this is not a decision that like just EIP editors should make. Like I think when you like basically auctioning off a common good or a public good, and I think if people do want to go the NFT route, like it would be good to get like a much broader set of like input into it, because I suspect if like we just go ahead and do this and like don't tell more people, some people will be like mad or like disappointed that this thing that kind of affects how the governance is handled is like being done without them being consulted. So not that like it's impossible to do it, but I think that it's definitely something which would require like a broader buy-in. Because otherwise it looks really bad if like you auction these NFTs and like core devs say this is a terrible idea, you basically lose all the like legitimacy to your NFT. Yeah.
Well, technically, right now the editors have full power to assign EIP numbers.
Right. So it's not the point. It's not the assigning the numbers. I don't think any client dev cares about how the numbers are assigned. It's the like auctioning off the public good bit.
I think there's a general consensus among the editors, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, that the numbers themselves do not matter to us at all.
Right.
Yeah, I think what Tim is probably saying is that we, if we were to auction off NFTs, it would make us look like we're taking more of an active role in assigning, like using our power in a particular way to assign numbers, and the core devs might disagree with that.
It's not even the assigning. I think core devs are pretty ambivalent about how the numbers are assigned. I think it's more the like generating a sale, like selling the public good in a way, right? It's like if the NFTs were free, I think it's still kind of a.
Well, I mean, the plan here is that some of the NFTs are free.
Oh, sorry. I thought that.
No, only notable ones would be auctioned.
Okay. Anyways, but I do think, just because it's like a largest change in the process, like I would get their input. And I'm not saying that like they will be against it, but I'm saying that like doing this without getting input will probably lead to pushback. And like some people might be against it, but it's like, you get like rough consensus. But I think there's a world where like this happens, but I think it's much better if like, yeah, client devs are on board with this before it happens, rather than like opposed to it after it happened.
I'm going to block consensus on it regardless.
Well, I guess we are trying to like address two things here. One is about the NFT sale of EIP number, and help me understand the proposal of how we should pick EIP number. Is it dependent on the sale in any way? Like if the
No.
sale is not happening, okay, then
No,
we can.
I thought we agreed the bot would simply pick up the series and start assigning the numbers so that we could stop arguing about or caring about the assignment of numbers. I thought we'd agreed to that. And I can't see complicating the bot to try to go picking through old numbers. And I'm going to object to any going back into the old sequence to assign numbers. I will strongly object to that.
That seems fair to me.
Okay, so I guess the decision for now is make a bot that just counts up and assigns numbers.
What
Well,
could be easier?
Perfect.
Specifically, the one that bases on the PR number.
Okay, we want to do it all.
No, forget the PR number. That's just been a hassle.
Okay, so we'll just count up, and it's at merge time, I think is what we agreed on.
Probably,
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Someone's going to
wherever-
be the lucky person to get PR number
Yeah.
get EIP 9.
Yeah, I mean, exactly when it happens, I'll leave to the bot authors because I know that's a dicey process. But they're just a number. Let's just assign them sequentially. Then there won't be so many holes in the sequence. They won't they won't get so big so fast. And we won't lose editors over incredibly stupid arguments.
All right. Yeah, I'm just trying to repeat here. So we are good with the bot proposal that is there with the 5294, and we are moving ahead with that.
Yeah, I guess just on point of the bot, it seems like there's two different understanding. Okay. Okay, so Sam. Okay, so you find the biggest number. So we don't start at EIP 9. We start at like EIP 5000 something. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
nice.
Yes.
Okay. I prefer that personally.
I prefer that.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
So wherever we are today, the bot will start counting from there, not going
Yeah.
back.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. And I had listed this NFT sale, one-time sale of unused EIP number that was on the later part of this discussion, but because we are already discussing this, probably we can address to that. So if I understand correctly, that was the proposal for unused numbers so far. It was not for future numbers, like not auction for future numbers. So that is not going to affect the way bot will be assigning number in future. That is one point. And second thing is like, where are we on that? If I understand Tim's concern correctly, it is like we do not want to fundraising and have it used somewhere else of public good. But if that is for free.
Well, the plan was that some of the numbers would be free and assigned to the bot that assigns the EIP number. But if it's a one-time sale of the previous numbers, then, well, we should run it by the core devs first, I guess, is probably what's going to come out of this.
Right. All right. We already have.
Wait a minute. What part of blocking consensus aren't you getting here? I will block consensus on this. It's an absolutely stupid idea.
There are more important issues anyways.
All right. Okay, then I'm going to drop it from the agenda, and we can probably take it from the issue that is added here. If people are strongly in favor of pursuing it, we can have it done. If not, then the issue can be closed eventually. Anyway, we have bots which closes issues if they are not under discussion for like over 3 months or so. So that would be taken care of. Moving on, the next one is fix EIP bot. I guess this was suggested by Panda Peep. Would you like to take it?
Yeah, so basically, for a while now, the EIP bot has been broken. This PR just fixes it. Micah just now refused to merge it without another editor approving. So if someone here would like to approve that, I can then ping Micah.
Matt, would you like to look into the pull request? Because I understand you may be able to merge it if that's, if the pull request is all good to go.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to mention on this one? Otherwise, Matt can respond to the issue or the pull request.
Well, there's also going to need to be some changes after it is merged to the branch protection settings. So require review from code owners is going to need to be enabled. Enable dismiss stale PR reviews is also going to need to be enabled. And the EIP merge bot is actually going to need to be removed from the required checks. But that should only be done after the PR is merged, not before.
Are we anyway discussing about the point number 3 using setting.yml for this?
That is a completely separate thing.
Oh,
I think we're currently putting it on hold for now, just because, again, there are more important things.
Got it. So there is an ongoing discussion thread added here. The link is added here on the agenda. It is about some setting changes requested on organization level. People interested may look into it, and they can also participate in the discussion. Discussion is happening on issue, EIP GitHub issue, as well as on Cat Herders Discord. Any specific point if I'm missing, Gavin, on this one? Okay, cool. Thank you. Item number 4 is sub-item number 4 is add license checker. Do we need any kind of consensus on it?
Well, I mean, Micah, I think, was the biggest objector here. It's now been changed to only check for solidity files and then require that the license be explicitly CC0 1.0. And reasoning for this is that a lot of people try to do things like MIT because that's what OpenZeppelin uses. Patchy 2, for some reason, is another one I see a lot of. In general, well, they should all be CC0. And since the Solidity style guide actually requires you to have an identifier, this just forces you to have the right identifier.
We found this issue in the EIP editor apprenticeship meeting yesterday, but it felt like it might need bigger audiences, and that's why we have added it here to the EIP meeting. Any thoughts from any of the present participants? Well, Micah is not on the call today, so maybe
Well,
we
Micah
can...
isn't an editor anymore.
Yeah, he's
He
retired.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, rest of the editors, if you
He
guys have
actually
any thoughts,
specifically
suggestions.
did not want to come. He actually specifically told me that he was not planning on coming.
Yeah, he's probably not going to be doing anything more, and yeah. Anyways, so I don't think we should limit assets to CC0. I think we should allow any open source license that isn't copyleft. Yeah.
I think that's a separate discussion though, since right now it is all CC0, and currently.
So EIP1 doesn't
are
actually
not-
say that. EIP1 only says that the EIP itself needs to be CC0. but it doesn't
And you're
say.
saying that the assets are not part of the EIP.
Yes.
So if you put your reference implementation and the specification in the assets folder, then you can't then link to it.
Well, a link is not directly including, right? That's the whole point of LGBL. So, like, if you link to your asset, it then isn't part of the EIP itself.
Well, then I would argue that anything that the EIP links to, for example, files in the assets folder, are part of the EIP.
Okay, well, we can discuss this offline and figure out what license we want to use. We don't need to do it, like, on the call. But
we can agree that it should be linted, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. We can take it on the GitHub. Moving on, the next one is add ECH Discord channel to EIP page index. This is again something that was there for EIP apprenticeship meeting, but we felt like a broader audience may be good to have a consensus on this particular topic. Do we want to have ECH Discord channel be added to EIP page index? I don't remember any precedence of this other than ECH GitHub repository, but this is something out of that.
Well, I mean, there's a link to the EIP's Gitter, which I think is possibly even less official than the ECH Discord. I'd be okay with having it there.
Yeah, if the Git is there, then yeah, we can definitely put the Git or the Discord there.
But the only problem is that currently they have typos in that thing, so they need to fix that before it can be merged.
Sounds good. Gitter is something that we are definitely not using, and I am just concerned because I understand any discussion on EIP level. Part of it, in fact, big part of it also goes on ETH R&D Discord. We are definitely encouraging people to make use of cat headers Discord and make discussion here, so we do not just like overwhelm the ETH R&D Discord server. But I'm not sure how good or bad it would be, because EIP Gitter, it was the only place for discussion, and that was independent of Discords.
Well, I mean, there is also Theorem Magicians too, but...
Right.
Somehow Theorem Magicians isn't actually listed on the front page as a place for discussion, so that's interesting.
Right. Yeah, Matt mentioned there is some good content in the Gitter, of course. Yeah, totally up to EIP editors if there is any concern about adding a ECH Discord to the page, GitHub page. I'm fine. We can let the user know about it. You can definitely add your feedback on the pull request. The number is added here. It is 5415. And if there is no objection, probably with the minor edit that Gavin suggested, this pull request can be merged. Moving on, the next sub-item is bug. Explain in text that ERC was renamed to EIP. Well, this is altogether a good discussion, and I find a comment from Greg, like, was it made final? Was there a decision? I am not sure of that. So let me open the floor for people if they would like to share their thought. I remember we discussed about it, but at the end, it was like me and Light Client should be heading this discussion somewhere out of the room. Yeah, any thoughts?
I don't care what people refer to it outside of the actual markdown files. They can call it ERC 20, they can call it banana 20, it doesn't matter to me. But I think in the documents, we should call everything EIP.
This, on a side note, people often refer to non-existent EIPs such as like EIP 223. EIP 223 is an issue. It is not an EIP.
Yeah, yeah. There was that same issue with 67 too.
67 is an EIP now, though, so that's, I guess, solved.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Instead of arguing about what we should call an EIP, like whether an EIP or an ERC, let's take smaller steps. And first thing first would be like call EIP when it is only existing in an EIP repository, not in like issue form or repository of somewhere else, because there are many other chain that call their proposals also as EIP. I don't know why, but yeah. So that is there. And I am a strong proponent of like they are free to call whatever they want to call. They can refer it to whatever they want to refer it. But if they are using EIP-123.md, then it should be there at least for documentation purpose. Greg, do you have any concern? Oh, sorry, Matt, you were trying to say something. I saw unmuting, please.
I was just saying to say, I think we all agree that we shouldn't refer to issues as EAPs. There's some legacy issues that sort of were from before this time where we were as hard about making sure that things were markdown files. But, you know, anytime those things are referred to in new EIPs, I think we're requiring them that they merge them as markdown files. So I think we're all already on the same page with respect to that.
Anytime I see anyone refer to EIP 223, I immediately point out that that thing does not exist.
But I still think that we should allow people to continue using ERC if they're referring to an EIP in the ERC category.
Yeah, and I think also that it should also, I also, on the side note, if people want to merge their like legacy issues as markdown files in the withdrawn state, I think we should probably allow that.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, 67 is a very good example of that. That has been done recently. So yeah. Greg, if you would like to share your concern or comment related to this issue.
Yeah, I sort of came in and out of this discussion and it's gotten scattered across a lot of channels, as usually happens. So I had thought the motion was more towards actually calling ERCs, getting clear on which is which, as a way of dealing with the should there be two repos issue, because we keep wanting to do that and deciding it's just would be way too much work to try to take them apart, but that simply consistently using the names could distinguish the core and near core ERPs from the much larger number of what are usually called ERCs that have no effect on the protocol at all. And there can be lots of them, and it's, you know, it's not the same sort of problem, except that they're just sort of cluttering up the system because they're all called EIPs. It's just a confusion that's worth resolving one way or the other, but I don't think we can get rid of calling things ERCs. So I'm more in tune with just try to always call them ERCs. And if people wonder, it's like, well, yeah, historically, you can also call them EIPs and you'll confuse people a little, but ERC 20 and EIP 20 are actually the very same thing. Don't worry about it.
Well, right. Yeah, I agree to that part. Like education is very important here. Yeah.
There's so much history and confusion here that I don't know that we can ever really straighten it out.
Okay, talking about the documentation purposes, I understand the new bot EIPW that has some checks, which is whether it, which is for the way it should be documented. Would you like to share something on that, Sam? Like how is it performing now? What it is considering now, or do we need any change in that?
Like for the ERC versus EIP? Yeah, we just have to
Yes.
write a test. We'd have to change the test so that it checks the type of the linked document to see what it is.
Right. So when someone is documenting a proposal and if they are trying to refer to an an EIP of a standard track ERC category, how they should write it. Is it okay to write ERC 20 or they have to go by EIP 20 for
So right now
documentation only?
right now it's EIP only, but like we'd have to change the test if we wanted to change the rule.
We'd also have to change EIP1 because EIP1 specifically says that in EIPs it has to be referred to as EIP hyphen number.
Okay. Okay, all right. So I believe if people are willing to make these changes, they can definitely create pull requests respectively. And I suppose Sam can take care of the part.
So is the consensus now to go with ERC for ERCs?
I don't see anyone objecting.
I'm objecting, but
Me too.
I don't care that much.
I understand the objection that there's no way to do this that won't cause confusion.
I don't care that much either.
Yeah, at this point, I'm also fine, like moving ahead with whatever people want, because I'm sure that there are more important issues that we can probably bring up. However, I was thinking that it would be better time when we are definitely separating ERCs and EIPs, then we should bring this up and do it, but fine, let's go ahead with that. Oh, that is interesting, Matt. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I want them separated, and I'm probably not alone because there's so many ERCs and they clutter my mailbox, and I'm having a hard time setting up a filter to send the ERCs down to the folder that says skim these and send the EIPs into the folder that says study these. So simply getting the names consistent would make it easy to write the filter.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
I have no objection. I just want to move with planning to like CNO's documents to make it consistent in this way, or is there a decision there? I'm fine either.
I couldn't hear anything you said.
Me neither.
Oh, I asked if there's a decision to also change all previous texts to make it consistent with this new policy.
No.
I'm fine. Just to clarify.
No, it would only be for changed file.
Yeah, if I understand correct, like this is a flexibility that is being provided in the past. People have been using EIPs and ERCs, whatever they wanted to. However, in EIP1, we made this change to reflect that while you are documenting, you should probably use it as EIP. Now, it looks like the group here decides that we don't need to be very strict on that, and we can go ahead with whatever way they would like to use it while documentation, and they would be referring to file where it will be EIP-123.md. But yes, on documentation, they could be using anything they would like to. So probably, yes, EIPW part might need to be giving that flexibility. Otherwise, it was a blocker there.
Sounds good.
All right. Maybe we can move on. The next one is create an EIP external link. archive bot.
So I'm going to say that's completely out of scope for the EIP editors to discuss. If somebody else wants to do it, they can, but I'm not going to spend any time on
Perfect.
that.
Perfect.
We're not going to
We
stop
already,
anyone from doing that.
Yeah, I started one, and I put it in my own repository to begin with. It doesn't have to be tied to Ethereum, but if we find it helpful, then we can integrate with the action, like GitHub action or anything. Like I'll get more concrete prototype and share with the editor group and see what people think.
well, the good thing is like we have a number here, it's 5408. People can definitely add their thoughts on this issue. And if they are interested to like pursuing it, they can do that. So I probably will drop it from the agenda for the next meeting. I would not bring it up because this is not something that is concerning EIP editors. The next item listed here is Panda PEEP added as a maintainer for the EIP bot repository. There is already ongoing discussion, but it would be interesting to hear thoughts from present EIP editors. There was one other thing, that a proposal from my end. The present EIP bot repository mentioned names of contributors. My recommendation was to remove that section because the repository in itself displays the name of contributors, and we don't want to have contributor name at one place because this is an open source repository, and we would like to invite participation from community without giving any special treatment to anyone. So 2 questions here we would like to address. Do we need to have that contributor section in README? And number 1, which is a Panda PEEP to be added as maintainer of the EIP bot repository.
For number 2, GitHub just has a sidebar that lists all the contributors, and if you want the full list, you can go to Insights and then Contributors, and you get a list.
I am in favor of maintaining a contributor list for the rationale of promoting contributorship and spirit.
I'm sorry, Victor, you are breaking. Can you maybe a little louder? Then probably you'll be able to catch it.
I am, yeah, thank you. I am in favor of maintaining a contributor list. I think it will promote the contributorship.
Sounds good.
Can I ask why? Because in my opinion, that if someone wants to see the contributors list, there are Git commands you can use. There's the GitHub sidebar. There's the actual full contributors list that gives all the commits they've done, the number of files changed, the added lines, the removed lines. You can also see the commit history. Like there's a number of places where you can see where people have contributed. I would be okay if we started using version numbers and like congratulating new contributors when the new version releases. But I don't see a need to have it in the README. Maybe a contributors RC document might be useful.
So just to thank you for asking the question by Panda PIP, and I think my proposal is to maintain it somewhere, and if it's sufficient to have it on GitHub, we can like have it synchronized with somewhere. It doesn't have to be in README. So I can further discuss with you to get consensus on where to put it or other way to recognize it. I'm in favor of the general direction. I'm not like strongly preferring one way or another where they put or how we are doing it. So if you want to, we can further discussion on this on like the exact ways of implementing. Cool, awesome.
Another question for you, maybe Panda PIP, for you. if what do you mean by added as a maintainer? Do we need to get you some special permission for that, or was that for yesterday?
Yeah, maintainer status basically meaning that I can merge pull requests, because Micah, I'm pretty sure, is the only one that can do that right now.
Currently, that is with Matt as well. We had 2 maintainers in the past, and I have already requested the DevOps team to provide access to Sam Wilson as well. Yeah, I'm fine with that for having one more editor on. Just wanted to check with the present set of editors group. So I can probably...
I'm not requesting a maintainer status, but I think it's fair to say that I'm in favor of Panda getting this as well. So long as everyone is like agrees that there's a consensus between these the editor group that it can be merged, right?
So basically, I'm requesting write permissions. I'm not requesting admin permissions. I don't think I should have admin permissions, because that would allow me to do things like set the EIP bot thing to private, which would just completely mess with the workflow. But I think we need at least someone that can merge the pull requests.
Agreed. And that is on behalf of this group. So yeah, I'm in favor for you to get that power.
I suppose it is right rule, yeah. Okay, we can take it on the Discord. EIP bot repo, if I understand correct.
Yes, the EIP-bot repository. Yeah, I think I did get the invite. I'm not sure if I have write access or not. Oh, never mind. Apparently I do. Apparently it... Oh, yeah. Well, I don't need admin.
Well, I'll take it. The issue is resolved. We can probably move on in the interest of time. Okay. Item number 3 here is EIP bots related discussion updates agreement on merging PRs and closing issues. I believe we were looking for some consensus for these pull requests to be closed. Yeah, again, that is by PandaPeep. So I believe one of them has already been merged, pull request number 109. But there are 2 open, if editors may take a look at it. Number is 111 and 105.
So Micah didn't want 105 merged because he wants a full end-to-end testing. Basically, me like using a clone of the EIP's repository, using the clone, doing the whole workflow of submitting a PR, having someone else approve it, and it being merged. I added test cases that test if there is 0 editors approving, 1 editor approving, and 2 editors approving, just to verify that it will only merge when there are 2 or more editors. But I didn't do it manually. This was an automated test. And I think Micah, for some reason, has some qualms with that. Since it was failing before I added the tests and was passing afterwards, I'm pretty confident that it works. Also because the entire change is changing a 1 from a not equal to 0 to a greater than or equal to 2. But
I understand when the bot repo was created, that was being tested by one of our cat herders. I'm not sure, Jose, if we made any progress on testing environment, creating testing environment, how far along we are there in making that environment.
Hello. Yes, exactly with Micah, we create the environment. Well, you just need to, you can use it. But I thought, Panda, that you did have an environment either. I didn't understand why you were not able to go to the test. What I assume is what you're trying to test is the new architecture that you are proposing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, the reason why was because 109 was merged less than an hour ago. So I wasn't, and I had my EIP -clone repository set to test that.
Because if you have your test done in your own environment, you just need to document the PR with the test. That was the last in the instruction that I remember from Micah. You just need to comment your test result in the PR, and I guess that the merge will go. I mean, that should be the standard procedure. You want to test a new code or new architecture for the bot, you create your testing environment with the clone, with the fork of the EIP repo, and you get the test successfully, and you document the PR with that commit, and the merge will go. I don't know if the process is different, but that was the process that I have been dealing with it for months. I don't know. Just let me know if this is like that or is something new that I just missed.
So I guess that is fine, but then why have the test cases if they have to be manually tested anyways? Like, the test cases don't lie. Like, if the test cases fail, then it means that something's wrong. If the test cases pass and you've added tests that successfully fail if what you're doing is wrong and pass if what you're doing is right, then I don't see the need to have a dedicated testing environment.
Well, I don't want to go too far on it, but what I understood and I agree, but always when I'm willing to accept whatever is decided for you, the editor, is that if you want to test code, you need to ensure that the code is doing what it's supposed to do as the clone. If the clone tests the code and fails, so the code is gonna fail when you go to the original repo. If the code works, it's gonna work. So if this want to be changed by doing it manually, which I don't basically understood how code could be tested manually, I mean, and that's fine. I mean, there should be something that I don't know. Okay, I will go with it. I will test my new proposal manually, and that's it. But so far, from my point of view, the code should be tested in the environment. Running your test case, documented, and ensuring that it's working. Even if the test is gonna imply changing the architecture of the bot or whatever is the repo. In this case, is the bot. But if you guys, as I said, if you guys, the editors, decide something different, that's fine. And I'm just a contributor, and I'm just trying to, to get my grain of sand on it, and I will keep working on it. I will keep. That's it. I mean,
we want feedback from contributors. We don't want to be a dictatorship.
Gavin, I can weigh in some of the rationale for suggesting of a unit test and end-to-end test, even though sometimes I skip tests, so I can totally understand the burden and overhead it brings.
Well, there are tests. There are test cases that mock responses from GitHub. There's just not a test case that actually runs on a production environment.
Right. I
in
would
GitHub.
say, yeah, maybe I would say the rationale to suggest that is that it makes it easier for future contributors to contribute, and so that the original authors would be notified if something goes wrong, and no one are obligated to understand all the corner cases the change can bring into. So that's the benefit, but like whether it can overweigh the overhead it brings to is up to the priority discussion, just providing a rationale for how that can be of helpful. And maybe you can take that into the consideration when you ponder it on.
So one question here, Gavin, for testing, as you mentioned in the chat, like there would be 3 testers needed for it, right? So Sam has a question here, like, is there any specific level that is needed, or it can be any 3-person contributor or EIP editor can do that?
So currently there are automated test cases, and then there's end-to-end test cases that Micah has been requiring all the PRs to go through. So the automated test cases, mock responses from GitHub, they run extremely fast, 4 minutes, no interaction necessary, or even less. Some of them run in, actually, I think most of them run in less than a minute and a half. But then there's also Micah, who wants an entire, basically what I did was I set up an entire clone of the EIP's repository with all the editors, Sam, and got Sam to basically I set up a PR submitting a EIP with a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, had Sam approve it, and made sure that the bot actually went through the entire process of doing everything. But I don't think that that's necessary for all changes. Basically, what I'm saying is that I am really, really, really certain that the automated test cases are going to catch everything.
Victor, your hand is raised. Is it from the last time, or you want to add something more?
It was from the last time. Apology.
Not a problem. Yeah, I mean, like, if the confidence level here is about 99% or so, for that it will be, debugs will be got with the automated testing. Sounds good to me, but yeah, please go
to
ahead.
me, like, basically you've been given right permission to the repository. You can decide what level of testing you'd like to see on it. And if there's a problem down the road, like if bugs get in, then we'll bring this discussion back up. But for now, decide what you want to do and go with it. I don't think it's really an EIPIP decision.
And anyway, we can revert back if something goes wrong, right? We can go back to the older version there.
Yeah, it's,
Yep.
well,
Yeah.
I'm also not planning on submitting a new PR every time something changes to the EIP bot. It'll be like a whole batch of changes that then I'm okay end-to-end testing. I'm okay with end-to-end testing every time I need to submit a PR. I'd rather not have to do that every time a PR comes into the EIP bot repository.
Sounds good. I think with the right permissions now, you may be able to decide on which all testing you want to go for end-to-end, and yeah, you take your informed decision here. And if something goes wrong, we'll take care then. We have just 5 minutes left. So there is one last important item I can say, but I'm not sure if that is important for this meeting today or not. That is about the Meta E for executable spec process for core EIPs. I know it was discussed in the all core dev meeting last Thursday, I believe. Do we want to continue discussing this item here in EIPIP meeting, or is it to be taken there on ECD? Or, yeah. I guess from the core dev meeting, it seems obvious that people are generally in favor. There were some changes that were recommended by core devs. Probably we can look for new proposal. One thing that we wanted to discuss here earlier, it was of creation of meta EIP. I'm not sure we are there in the draft status yet, right? I don't know if Tim or Sam, any of you are talking. I can't hear. You must be muted.
Sorry, what was that? I missed that.
Okay, no, I was just wondering, like we discussed about creating a meta EIP. So do we have any draft of it? I know there is an HackMD file which was shared with the all core dev meeting, but we are still in the process of documenting it, right?
Yeah, I don't think we
Yes.
have a formal proposal yet.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So would it be okay to drop it for future meetings for some time? And when we have that draft ready, then I will bring it back to the agenda.
Oh yeah, we don't need to talk about it on here for now.
Yep, that sounds good.
Good. Sounds good. And the next one is the EIP's insight for the month of August. So far, we have 4 new proposals added to the repository as draft. One EIP has been moved from stagnant to review, and that is EIP number 831, URI format for Ethereum. There is one proposal, EIP 5313, which is in the last call, and the deadline is ending on 15th of August. That is light contract ownership. So people, if you are interested in that EIP, this is of ERC category, please check out the discussion link added to the EIP. And other than that, there were some minor changes done. All these changes have been added in the EIP's insight for the month of August. Link added to the agenda.
Oh, quick thing. Can I quickly merge that PR that adds the waiting for EIP number label?
Matt, I know Sam has dropped.
Basically,
What's the
just,
number?
PR number 5412. Oh, it looks like it needs to be rebased.
All right. Yeah, I think we are on time, and I'm just trying to quickly look into if there was any action item from the past meeting. It doesn't look like. One says that if we find any issue with EIPW bot, we will be taking care of that. And yeah,
Is it?
so
Was there any discussion about how to address the relates or requires EIP discussion, or is there already a consensus in the group?
I'm sorry, I could not quite catch it, Victor.
So I previously bring up that there is a requires part in the preamble of EIP templates, and sometimes that requires are understood as that require the EIP requires the other EIPs to be ready or to be implemented. Sometimes I think from at least what I learned conversation with Mikhail, that it was used in some way that means to understand this this EIP, you require reading the other one, or maybe you need to, it's more of a related EIP kind of thing. So which one do we go to, or do we already have a consensus?
If I remember correctly, it was added in the last meeting agenda, but unfortunately I missed to add it here in this meeting. And yeah, I could probably bring it up in the next meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there was any consensus on that.
Sounds good. We can put it on the backlog for next one.
Of course, I'll do that. Thank you. We are at time. I'm going to create the agenda for the next meeting right after this one. If you can probably add the link, I will try to pull it from the earlier meeting and do that. If in case I miss it, please help me out over there and add the link in the comment section. I will do that. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope to see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one, everyone.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you all.